Well, I didn't even realize it was happening, but it was Comic-Con this weekend. And I really didn't know until basically MCU took Hall H center stage last night and everything blew up for a minute, which was nice to see some geek comic book Marvel things on my timeline versus the stuff that's been on my timeline for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sure. They kind of hop back in there to San Diego. I think that maybe they took last year off uh and just did like the they have Disney Day now also, which is another, they do that in August, so they like split major announcements between both things. And I think they didn't do San Diego last year at all. But them coming back is cool. And these are traditionally always where the big announcements happen, like
Mhm.
in the past where they've announced like, oh, this is the Avengers team, and this is the timeline for phase 2 and 3, and they put it all up on the screen and everybody gets excited. So yeah, it was cool to see that come back, and some crazy shit went down, I guess, this year.
A little bit. So I mean, I want to jump into it because part of this first kind of this wasn't really an announcement, but more of a revelation that we kind of figured out. And kind of, I feel like we could talk about it with Deadpool Wolverine, but I feel like it was kind of an exclamation point to this era as well. But basically, we're done with Kang. Kang the
Uh-huh.
Conqueror had his brief window that started with Loki season 1 and basically ended with Loki season 2 with an Ant-Man adventure in the middle. And not really kind of what I think we were expecting. If you go back and listen to some of our older episodes talking about Loki season 1 and the possibilities of what Kang could be, and the fact that Avengers 5 was technically titled
The Kang
Kang's
Dynasty.
Adventure, or
The Kang Dynasty.
I saw the disgust in your face. The disgust in your face when I said that.
I was just like,
Oh no. Kang's Dynasty.
the Avengers, Kang's Adventure.
I don't know. That's
No,
what
it's
was in
good.
my head, so that's what I went with. But Kang's Dynasty, and now that is gone. No more Kang's Dynasty. But how do you feel? I mean, just really surface, because I guess we don't have to give much talk about Kang anymore. But I mean, how did that work out? Anybody have any
No,
thoughts on Kang? A little eulogy?
I mean, it fell apart big time.
Yeah.
Fell apart really, like, kind of in a crazy way. For now, if you kind of look at it in hindsight, for multiple reasons. One, I don't think the whole multiverse saga they were hoping for has been panning out. I know, we all know how popular the Infinity Saga was that ended with Endgame and Thanos. And so then immediately after that, they jumped to the multiverse saga, which is Kang centric. Um, Kang was announced. The casting was announced for Jonathan Majors. Everybody was excited. I know I was big time Jonathan Majors fan, and all the things I saw him previously. So I was really hyped about that. I think his debut in Loki was done perfectly. Me and Chris are on record from Loki season 1 being so excited about that. Him being like the big bad of whatever. But then he was announced as the villain for Ant-Man, the third Ant-Man, and which was kind of a head scratcher, because all right, this guy, you want him to be your big bad, but now you're putting him as the villain in Ant-Man
Ant-Man.
3. Ant-Man, who's not very, not much of a consequential piece of this whole thing, is Ant-Man. So it's like, all right, the big bad for this whole phase is going to be in Ant-Man 3. Okay, we'll see what happens. That sucked. I'm sorry to say, that movie was terrible. Badly written.
Wouldn't he keep screaming, "You made a promise or we had a deal"? Well, he just kept repeating something over and over again during that fight scene.
Yeah, just
It was-
whatever it was,
Yeah.
was terrible. And you
We
want
saw that in theaters together. That's right. We went.
I think we
Oh
did.
man, that probably was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a bummer.
But it's like, you expect me to believe Kang's your big bad of phase whatever, this new saga, and you have him losing to Ant-Man, in just a bad movie. And then he was in Loki season 2, not very consequential in that either. Not to mention now his personal life problems, which ultimately cost him his role. So it's just been cursed from the beginning, and now we kind of see they're just like, all right, we're gonna steer this ship in a different direction.
Do you think they would have pushed through if Jonathan Majors didn't have any issues, do you think they would have kept it like on course, or
Or
do you
like,
think?
but also to your guys' points, like it's not like Ant-Man 3 was a box office success, and it's not like Loki 2 was received very well. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I
hard
think
to say. He
I
might have
think
been contractually obligated to already be making something else at the time, and then maybe it would have came out and done really well and been great, but who knows?
I think they would have stuck with it. I honestly do if he didn't get in trouble. But him being fired, and then they were talking about let's recast him. I guess they decided they're not going to do that either because they're moving on. But I think they would have stuck with it and been like, okay, we made a mistake with Ant-Man 3. Let's bounce back from that. Let's make him pop up in something else and appear different. You know what I mean? I think they would have stuck the course, but
Yeah,
I guess we'll never know,
no.
as they
And
say.
I'm kind of grateful that we'll never know. That I really didn't want to watch much more, and it's going to be hypocritical. Hypocritical. I don't think that's the right word.
Hypocritical?
Hypocritical. There's the right word. I know talking. As I start talking about Deadpool and Wolverine and all the multiverse shenanigans that they got up to and how much I enjoyed about some of those things, this is going to sound bad, but like I was kind of over the multiverse saga at this point already. So the idea of them leaning heavier into that, but the way that they've done it, and I've been on record, and you can go back and listen to anything to do with the MCU of the past since Endgame, basically, or definitely since Loki season 1, it's just kind of been the same complaint. So I don't need to get back into it, but I'm kind of glad that we're shifting over to everything else, and that's kind of led to a reshuffling of the Avengers films because Kang's Adventure was coming up. It's what is going to always forever be to me now. But they basically brought back out the Russo brothers, who helmed a bunch of the original, basically Captain America 2 and 3, and the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. Were those the only ones they did? Those 4 movies?
Didn't they do Winter Soldier too? I think.
Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then Infinity War and Endgame, right?
Yes.
And then they parted ways with the MCU and really seemed to be done with it. But Feige dumped some cash on them and said, come back and save us. And they announced that they were doing Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. And then they said, well, there's a big character missing that we need to introduce into this universe if we're going to do Secret Wars in 2027. So that means in 2026, we're dropping Avengers Doomsday. So Kang's Dynasty turns into Avengers Doomsday in 2026. And then they had a whole bunch of Doctor Dooms walking out onto stage. And they basically said, for this role, we have to have the greatest actor in the multiverse. And some dude walked out. Somebody in the crowd said Jared Leto. And when
somebody was hoping for Jared Leto,
somebody was hoping really
it's
hard
on
for,
video.
And as I told you in text, if it would have been Jared Leto under that mask in that moment, that dude would be legend right now. Of just that moment would have been perfect if it was Jared Leto, but it wasn't. He got with that. And when he pulled off the mask, it was Robert Downey Jr. has been cast as Dr. Doom, which basically broke the internet, I think, for a short period of time last night. How does anybody feel about Robert Downey Jr., good old Iron Man, who's dead, now being cast as Dr. Doom?
Go ahead, sir.
He was a great actor as Iron Man. Loved him as Iron Man. But as he says, I am Iron Man. It's going to be hard for me to watch an Avengers film or a Marvel film without thinking about him as Iron Man. You know what I mean? Playing somebody else and seeing him as the big bad. So I don't know. He's probably going to be great in it. Maybe I'll get past it, but I feel like it's going to be a hard thing. It's going to take me out of it while I'm watching it, thinking about him previously being Iron Man.
Yeah. I've been like back and forth on this kind of. It's cool because it's a unexpected thing that is noteworthy because of how out of left field it is. You never thought, like, you would have never guessed it or thought it. So
anybody who said they knew was a liar.
Right. So the surprise factor of it alone is like, okay, that's cool. I have to sit and think about this. But when you do start sitting and think about it, the more odd it becomes to me. Not to say that he won't do a good job and that they have something up their sleeve of how they're going to make this work, There's a lot of different things they can do. It can be is he playing Victor Von Doom? Maybe. Is that the weirdest way to do it? Yes, because he's Tony Stark and you just can't. It seems impossible to do that. Be like, hey, this is Victor Von Doom. Look at him. He's fucking Robert Downey Jr. And you're just supposed to kind of forget that he's been Iron Man for what, 8, 10 movies before. It's very hard to do that. So
since 2008.
Yeah, the more likely options is it's some kind of Tony Stark variant or clone or something that they're gonna play around with. But even beyond the story of it, like Tony kind of said, it kind of messes with the legacy of him. You know what I mean? In the MCU, like he's already done so much good work, even though his character's been dead for now 10 movies. He's still like the face people think of when they think of the MCU. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, and now you're just like, I'm expected to believe watching this that him on screen now he's just someone else. It's so strange, and there's just so many other people who could do this role.
I was thinking about Adam Driver. I thought that he would have been good.
My favorite choice was rumored for a while was Cillian Murphy. Why not have him? He's a big name. Him and Pedro Pascal are around the same age, like 49. I looked up. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. is 60. So there goes your Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom being like the same. I mean, I guess one of them could play younger. Robert Downey could probably play younger. Who knows? But
I had no idea he was 60 until you said it right now. So I definitely think that. And with Fantastic Four taking place in the 60s, I still don't know how they're going to tie any of that together.
No, but so I'm going to ride this, I guess, with everybody else and just see how they do it. But it's just strange, man. It's very strange. Not saying it's not going to be good. It's just, I find it odd.
Do you think they were hoping that this was, I mean, a lot of people love him so much and being in these movies that they don't care as long as he's involved somewhere. Do you think that this is them just trying to revitalize and getting the crowd back into their corner for something else in the MCU, something else with the Avengers?
I mean, it's possible, but I can't think of examples of this being done. But this happens in other areas where you just bring back someone who was successful in the past, hoping to change your fortune in the future. Like, you guys loved him then, right? He's back. But like, no, just keep moving. Just keep moving. Like he had his time. His time has passed. I thought we were doing new stuff. You know what I mean?
But the new stuff hasn't worked. So now you go back to the well. There's two things. One, when I rewatched the actual announcement, like the full video of them basically announcing Doom, they very specifically put in their multiverse. Like basically almost, to me, I read it as like this is basically a multiverse Tony Stark and not Victor Von Doom. So I feel like they're going to lean into the multiverse aspect and basically find an evil version of Tony Stark to be Dr. Doom. And that's really the only way they could do it. The only other option that they have to do it in a way in which it makes sense is if they basically put a mask on him and you never see him. And you just know it's Robert Downey Jr. and he's Von Doom, but he's always wearing a mask, which Doom usually is.
Doom always wears a mask because his face is jacked up.
Yeah.
But
so like I mean, does that matter if you know it's Robert Downey Jr. in real life, but he's just a dude in a mask?
It still matters. It matters. I don't know why. I can't explain why. It just still matters. You know.
Would it matter if they make Dr. Doom a evil Tony Stark?
I guess that would make more sense.
I feel like that's what they have to do. I feel like that's the only thing they can do right now. You can't say he's another guy. You cannot say he's another guy and show him and be like, it's just some other dude. And he's looking at,
Thor just has this strange look on his face, like, wait a second.
Are you sure you're another guy?
Anyone else think this looks like Stark?
Right.
But if you never see him because he's always wearing a mask, then you never have those moments.
But then you're telling me there's going to be no Dr. Doom backstory before he had a mask on. He's just going to have a mask on all the time. I don't know. I think it was an opportunity to kind of start something new. And like I said, there's plenty of fine actors who could have taken this role, I think.
Yeah.
Not to say I'm not excited to have Robert Downey Jr. back, but if he really wanted to come back so much, revive Iron Man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you could have done that too.
Well, especially with the multiverse aspect, you know, you just bring back Iron Man, you bring back a different Tony Stark at a different Earth, and we roll, you know, and you do Iron Man 4 and you do those things. So yeah, it's definitely puzzling, but it definitely, I think, got a lot of people talking. And yeah, there's some people that may hate it, but I feel like there's gonna be more people that love it because Robert Downey Jr. is their guy.